Welcome to Give Us This Day. It's been my observation that we often have patterns in the way that we think. And I'm not just talking about regular patterns or routines. I'm talking about mindsets. A mindset is not just what we think, but it's how we think and why we think it. Mindsets can become such a deep part of who we are because we can kind of slide into what I'll call a default way of responding to life and just the way that we process things. And we can do that in our walk with the Lord as well. Let me read a verse out of Romans chapter 12, verse 2. It says, "Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is the good and acceptable and perfect will of God." That's a pretty common verse. You may have read it many times yourself, or maybe even quoted it like I have. But I think the power in that verse speaks at the very beginning when it says, "Do not be conformed to this world." Since this verse was written in the Bible and we read the Bible as Christians, I'm not sure too many Christians would intentionally try to say they're a follower of Jesus and then act like a worldly person or someone that isn't a follower of Jesus. And that's where this mindset issue comes into play, because we have to be able to realize that sometimes we can adopt a worldly way of living out our faith and not even realize it. And we don't always ask ourselves, is this what God's calling me to do? And that's where this verse becomes so vital, because it challenges us not to look at our experiences as not just a sort of formula, because our walk with God is full of ups and downs and bends and twists and good days and not so good days. And even when we think we're doing the right thing, we'll continue to do that. It might work for us for a while until it doesn't. Because it's in that way of living that we come to a place where we have to realize that the process is really part of the growth and that maturity that God is calling each one of us to. So let's take a deeper dive into this verse. The word good in the Greek is an adjective that means good, profitable, or useful. And in that context, it's not about a desire to do good, it's about a decision to do good things. And it's not based on a feeling that I want to do it. It's based on a volition and a willfulness to be able to just step into the things that I know I should be doing. Next is the word pleasing. And that word pleasing could be translated as well-pleasing, acceptable, or grateful. And that's the result of making a decision that when I make the choice to do good things or to think in a good way, then I can feel the benefits of it, right? The blessings or the fruits of that decision are apparent because, I feel good about them. And not only that, it also pleases the Lord. And ultimately, that's the next step from doing good to doing well-pleasing. Next is the word perfect. And we know from what Pastor Lauren has often mentioned to us that the word perfect in the New Testament does not mean flawless. It means of full stature or mature. But it also means to be complete in various applications of labor, growth, mental, and moral character. You see, growing into that perfect place means we're no longer wrestling whether we should do the good thing by choice or whether we do the good thing because it helps us feel good. We mature to the place where we do the good things because it's a part of who we are, because our character has ultimately been transformed to that place where we know that it pleases God and we know that we should be doing these things, but our mindset is such that I don't think about doing anything else other than being the person that God's called me to be. And that's the indication of a transformed life. And lastly, the word prove. It means to test or discern all the preceding things, the good, the acceptable, and the perfect. In other words, this is more than a pattern or a model, but it's a promise from God. And promises, like as mentioned in Romans 8:30, are for the called, the justified, the glorified ones of God. And that's us. So if you ever get frustrated or overwhelmed in your walk with God, or you realize you're not where you want to be in Him, no matter the reason why, go back to this promise of God and lean into the experience of transformation. And know this, God's made a provision for you to break out of your old mindsets and to step into the life of transformation. All we need to do is accept God's invitation to prove it.